Hey everyone, I'm Matt Jones. You know what? Hold on, something doesn't seem right. Hey Google, Merry Christmas.
Happy Hanukkah.
Ah, much better. Well, hello, church family. This has been my church family for 42 years. Back in 1978, I was 6 months old, and my parents brought me to this church, and we've been a part of it ever since, along with my brother and sister. Um, back when my brother and my sister and I were kids, my dad Irv was an elder in this church, and my mom Darlene was on staff. And they used to have these board meetings once a month on Sunday mornings at like 6 a.m. I guess they thought that was a good time for a meeting. But we'd all pile in the car super early. My brother and my sister and I would sleep for a couple hours, like in the minivan in the church parking lot, while they had their meeting. And then we'd go to every service, and then we'd come back that night for Sunday evening service. If there was something going on in the church, we were there. Sometimes it made for long days. That might be why, when I was about 7 years old, we went back for Sunday evening church, and it might be why my family, including myself, granted, didn't notice that I forgot something. We all got in the car, drove to church, got out of the car. We were walking up the walkway to the sanctuary, and I looked down and I said to my parents, I don't have any pants on. And they looked at me, and sure enough, I had, underoos and a t-shirt, and I even had shoes and socks on, but no pants, no shorts. And I don't think they were mad. They were just very confused. And they said, well, where's your pants? And I said, I don't know. I think at first they thought I took them off in the car as a joke to be funny, but they weren't laughing very long. But we found some shorts in the lost and found in some classroom at the church or something, and I wore those that night. We didn't have to go home. We stayed for church, and we just, growing up, we just did everything at the church. Here's a picture of me in junior high. You'll recognize Jeremy DeFriend in this picture in the blue, and then Sean Brenner, and then me on the far right. I've got pants on in this picture, so that's a good sign. And not just short pants, long pants. That's probably why I don't look very happy in this picture, because all my life I've hated wearing long pants. But this picture makes me laugh, not just for that reason, but just because Sean and Jeremy are still two of my best friends to this day. And that really came about because of this church family and the staff and the pastors who were, taking us to camps and to trips to Mexico to build houses and on backpacking trips and just anything and everything that they were, we were part of. Youth choir tours, just built those friendships, not just with the three of us, but with other people in the church too. And that's something that's just always stuck with me. Angeles Crest Christian Camp, just like Jeremy talked about in his testimony, played a huge role in my young life. I gave my life to Christ there when I was 11 years old. I've been a camper there. I've been a counselor there. I've been on staff there. I've been on work crew there. I've been on worship team there. I just love that camp and the role it played in my life. My parents have always been, provided that foundation of my faith from an early age, and have always been my biggest fans. That includes when I was about a sophomore in high school. My mom, who used to be the director or co-director of the junior camps, the week-long summer camps for 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. So she had me one summer when I was in sophomore in high school be the camp speaker. And for that whole week in the morning sessions, I spoke to the campers. And that always stuck with me, that somebody believed in me that much. Granted, it was my mom, but still, that was a risky thing for her to do, to have somebody so young be one of the camp speakers. But that always stuck with me. That continued really with the rest of my time in high school. I had people like Ab Castle, who was my youth pastor then, and Pastor Jim Price also, who they've always been two of my biggest fans as well and really believed in me. I remember the church, we had a youth service when I was in high school, that one Sunday morning, big church. It wasn't just the youth, the youth having their own service. We were going to run the service for all the adults, all the big church, that we were going to do the worship. We were going to pass the communion and offering and do the communion meditation and also do the preaching. So myself and one other high schooler, Jim and Ab, had us do the preaching. And that always stuck with me too, just how much confidence they had in me and just giving me the opportunities just to use the gifts that God had given me, even when I didn't necessarily see them at the time in myself, that they saw them in me. I'll always remember the words of encouragement that Jeremy spoke to me after that service as well. That always stuck with me. But we just love being at the church and being in, with our friends from church. I eventually went to Azusa Pacific University for college and studied Christian ministry and biblical studies. That took me to my senior year, going over to Israel to study at Jerusalem University College, and just went around studying the land of the Bible and the history of the people of that land, and other biblical studies courses there as well. Here's a picture of me in what an actual first century manger looks like. I don't know that that's what an actual first century baby would have looked like, but I was doing my best. So, that was a really formative time for me, just going around studying the land of the Bible and digging deeper into God's Word. I came back and went to seminary at Fuller Seminary in Pasadena. For some people, seminary can be a really tough time for their faith. Sometimes people call a seminary cemetery because people go and really lose their faith there. Luckily for me, I found the opposite, that all the challenging parts of the Bible really strengthened my faith, in the sense that it wasn't in spite of the challenges of the Bible, but really because of. I just got more and more curious about the Bible and these people who wrote these books. What was their relationship with God that led them to write these different books that we have in our Bible? And really just sparked that interest in me. I fully intended to make a career out of it. I was doing my master's degree in seminary to go into teaching at the college or seminary level. But after I finished it, my life just kind of took a hard right turn that I didn't really expect. I graduated and I needed money. So back when you actually used to look in classified ads for jobs in a newspaper, I found a classified ad to be a delivery driver out in LA, like delivering scripts for agencies and stuff like that. And it actually led me to what I do today. I run a small business now that coordinates deliveries for real estate companies, for hospitals and medical facilities. I never would have expected that back then. If somebody had told me that's what I was going to be doing, not only would have been skeptical, but I actually probably would have been pretty disappointed to think that that's where my life was going to go. I'm happy now, but it would have been startling to me then to think of that, because I had what I thought was a very clear picture of where God wanted to take me, and that's not really where I ended up. It's one of those things that, looking back on it now, I can see how God has continued to use me, in spite of not doing it full-time as a career, like not being a full-time Christian pastor or a full-time teacher of the Bible. But God has still used those times in my life of studying the Bible. I taught a Wednesday night class at church for 7 or 8 years. I have taught basically every age of Sunday school at the church, and had a great time teaching high schoolers in this church family when I was in college. Back in 2014, 2015, a friend of mine, one of his spiritual mentors, was a pastor at a church in Long Beach, and he had a heart attack and needed to step back from full-time preaching, and so he asked my friend to take over, but my friend was in the Army Reserve. So once a month, I went down to Long Beach for a couple of years there and preached to that congregation. When our church family sent Mike Malak out to Echo Park to begin the Inside Out LA ministry there, the Golden West congregation came to him and said, "We really need help on Sunday mornings with our service, have people preaching." And Mike took on the brunt of that, but asked me to come once or twice a month and preach there. And I love that time of going down there and getting to know the people there, the Inside Out LA ministry and the Golden West congregation, all who are a part of our church family now. But just seeing how God continued to use me in those ways, the ways that I feel most gifted, even though it's not something I'm doing as a career. I just have always kept in mind Micah 6:8, that, throughout all the time of trying to figure out, where is God taking me? Where has he taken me? Where is he going to take me from here on out? And why am I in this place? That God, I just kept getting a reminder from God that, you know what is good and what I require of you. And that's to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with me. And it's one of those things where I don't think that God necessarily had it in his plan for me to be running a small business, doing this stuff, but that was just life choices that I made. What God's plan for me was Micah 6:8, to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with him. And as long as I was doing those things, God was going to keep protecting me and keep blessing my life. And so maybe you're in a place that you have no idea why God is taking you on the path you've been on, or why you're where you are now, and can't figure out what God has in store for you. I encourage you just to remember Micah 6:8. You know what is good and what God requires of you, to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with him. And choices you make in life, sometimes God gives us clear answers and clear direction, and other times it feels like your prayers are bouncing off the ceiling. But if you remember those things, God will walk alongside you and protect you. And I've seen that in my life, with God continuing to use me in those ways. One of my favorite things to do now is take groups over to Israel and introduce them to the land of the Bible, and just talk about the stories of the Bible in the places that they happen, and just be able to see the Bible come to life for so many people in the land of the Bible, and in the Holy Land, is a really thrilling and special thing for me to do now. There's a picture of our group from last year that went there. So just wanted to encourage you with those words today. Just keep seeking God, and God will come alongside and protect you.